Hey there, everybody. It's David R. Becker here with BeckerArt. And in today's video newsletter, I want to just explain a little bit of something that we've been talking about in the last 3 weeks newsletters is about the value pattern. And this week, if you look right next to me, or this way, that way, you see a photo that I had gotten from one of my student friends. And Carr, had given me this photo and asked me to do the value pattern on it. And she showed me something she had done with it already and it was a little bit too busy. And so I want to just show you how I take a very busy value pattern Notan that is just way too busy and simplify it. All right, and so let's just go right down to it. And so what she basically showed is this was a plein air. She was painting it plein air, so this is what you see. And like if you paint it like this, there's not much pattern of light and dark in there. There's a little bit of pattern of color, but it's so busy that I take it, and even if I'm outside, I do this through with the red glasses, or I take a photograph of it, and then what you can do is you can make a black and white of it. And so this is what the Notanizer app will do to your photograph, and you see that a lot of these lights and darks are all over the place. It's not really a simplified value pattern, so we have to change that. And you can do that in your head. I can do that in my head. Some people like to do it with their phone or do it with Photoshop. But when you're on the spot, when you're out there, you may take a little bit of a sketch pad and then just do a large thumbnail sketch of the value pattern. Again, it's a pattern. It's not about the middle tones. It's about getting the lights and darks, the black and white, down to so that's a simplified composition and simplified design. Not the composition, but design. And so your center of interest, of course, is this flowers. And so what I can do is I can show you that I'll make it, what I'll do is I'll make it grayscale. And so I'll make it grayscale and see what I did is I actually took this into Photoshop, and this is something you could do with a sketch and a pencil sketch, is I took it and I kind of made all these areas. I went for a big pattern of light and dark. And so, but there are grayscale in here. And so I first make it grayscale and I made the flowers here all light. These flowers down here were also light, but I need to make them dark because I need some area that's not light and simplifying it. So I made these flowers would be then become light and I would just fake that in there, basically a dark, the flowers down here would be dark. I made the suitcase and there was a lot of dappled light in it. And so I make this area is kind of like in my dark area. But let's take this now and we'll take this scene and we'll make it black and white, or this value pattern, we'll make it black and white. And so to do that, I will take and show you the black and white. So this would be the black and white of that basically scene that I just did. So now you can see that my value pattern or my Notan design of black and white is a little bit easier to digest basically. So what you're doing is you're simplifying the value pattern. Like in the photo, the colored photo, this area kind of was all middle tones, and they were all middle tones. So I'm making it so that I can still use some middle tones in this area back here. I could maybe make this a little bit darker so it wouldn't be so bright, but the darks kind of all come together here a little bit, you know. I mean, not exactly, but if I made this area back here not so light and made this more middle tone, it would push back. And again, that would look more like this. So that's like a middle tone. And you see how this is more of a middle tone. And so middle tone is part of it, you know, but I would maybe make this even a little bit darker. You know, I would make that darker so that the pattern of light and dark pattern really work together well. If you look again to the colored version in the beginning, see again, like this is all dappled grays and middle tones. Everything's middle tone. And so even if I squint my eye to this, I don't see a big pattern of light and dark. And so I have to kind of make up that pattern of light and dark and then go with that, basically. So if we go back to my scene of the black and white, then I would think this is the way I would want it to be in values. And so if I want to show a color version of that, I would do I can show you what the color version would look like that. So it'd be like this. This is what I would see, and this is what I would do the thumbnail of, so that most of this area, these flowers, will be a little bit darker. They can still be there, but I make them darker. I'm simplifying the value pattern. and pattern being the Notan pattern of black and white, but that doesn't mean that they can't be middle tone. Like this is the dark. Remember, these were the darks, but then you can put them down the middle tone because they're still darker than the light area. It's because the light area was all down here. The flowers were the lightest, and here's also a thing where the flowers, being that they're red, they also act like a light because they're brighter, a brighter color. So it's almost like doing it dark and light, but you can have more prominent color, like a very bright color. So if these were not as bright a color, then you have to make sure that they're still light. But the brightness also is kind of like a lightness. Brightness is kind of like the lightness of the view of the U color, the U meaning not you, but the color of the actual object, which is red, and that acts like a light because it comes forward. So these whole flowers will be all in a light. And yes, there's a bunch of dappled dark in that, but most of it is the area will be dark. And so this is how I would look and paint it. I would not be able to paint it, I don't think, if I'm looking at it like this, and make it a good value pattern. And it doesn't give me a nice center of interest, doesn't make my center of interest look as nice as if it's lighter against a darker value. It is that already, but how about keeping this area a little bit lighter so that the darks are not just, I mean, you can make it where this is light and everything else is dark too, but that's not so great a design as it would be if we do it like this, like that with the design of black and white like that. And let's go back to our colored fixed version, and that would be this. That would be the fixed version of how I would probably paint it or get my watercolor washes to kind of all work together in a pattern. Because I would do my first wash, I would go right through the center here and come right through this area, and even put my color in for my flowers. And then I do my large mediums and my large darks, right? So I'm always making it so that I can do my 3-step process. And if it's all dappled and everything is light and dark all over the place, I can't do big washes of light and dark. And in the very beginning, I can do my lights, but then my lights would be dappled all over the place. And then I go with my big darks and mediums, and I wouldn't know where to put them because they're all medium and darks. But this way, I know this is my lights, and I can put some medium in my light area wash too. But then I know my second step will be the background, the suitcase, and then maybe underneath here, and then start getting into my large darks, which is also that area. And then I go to my third step 3, which would be my small darks, detailed darks. That's step 3 is my detailed darks, and that would be the flowers and the cracks into the cement or the sidewalk, the bricks and stuff, the walkway, and even like the barrel back here. That's all the very last thing you do. But this way, I get a nice value pattern. And it's not the greatest yet either. I think a nice wash on here or something on this side. It seems like this side's a little bit light, heavy on the lights and stuff. So maybe on that side over there here, I maybe put something, or maybe put more texture over here, But I think this is much better than seeing it like this. And even the color wise, this bright bluish purple here, it's okay, but you can do that in your sidewalk too, but make it lighter. Make it lighter so that then these flowers are, more vibrant and they come forward. That's my center of interest. It's in the thirds. Everything works great then. And so thank you to Car for letting me see her shot. This is what she showed me, and she was thinking about how can she do this, because when she did this and made it this black and white, that's a little bit too busy. And you have darks and lights all over the place, and you're shadowing down here. That would be really strange if you made all those darks and lights like that, because then it wouldn't feel like one area. It would be like objects that are really dark right there. And so that doesn't make for a great value pattern. And so again, we're looking for a good pattern. And this definitely, again, would be a much better pattern by making the big lights and darks. I know this is the 3rd or 4th week we've been doing this, talking about this, but this is a really good example of taking something that's a very busy composition with a lot of lights and darks that are all over the place and simplifying them. And so I just physically wanted to show you how I would take a thing like this. And in this week's paint along, which is Thursday, which will also be Car's. Her name is Karen, but we like to call her Car. She's been in my class a couple times, and so she had also submitted some paintings for my, or photographs for my last newsletter, and the very last one of the last video I did was the one that we're gonna be doing this week in the paint along. So that will be the bridge with all the forest. So we're going to take that and we're going to simplify it again, and we're bringing it down. And I will, before I submit it into the where you can take it, I will have already fixed the value pattern and shown you the value pattern so that you don't even have to do that, but you can see what I did to fix that value pattern, and then we'll paint it with the better value pattern. All right. And so until this Thursday, because you're gonna be painting along with me, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, and we'll see you then on Thursday. Bye bye.